Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the MyFedUniversity podcast and show. My name is Ryan Palomini, and I've got Brian Zeman on again with me today, who we're going to talk about the federal leave program. Now, for those of you that don't know, Brian is a former HR chief, and he ran the VA hospital for a long time. And what I love about having Brian on is getting the HR's perspective. And Brian, this was one of those things where it's confusion, right, about this federal leave program, because there are two different components to it. And people think if I don't use it, I lose out. There's all these things, right? So I want to get the HR's perspective. I know a lot of people do too, on some clarity as to what the federal leave program is, how do they maximize it, and how do they use it both while they're working and in retirement. I know you saw a lot of things that people used to come to. So maybe just tell us about what were some of the things you got question wise, confusion, and explain this to us here.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for having me on again, Ryan. So glad to be here. I know some of our previous podcasts and meetings, we've talked about, your first years of being a federal employee. We've talked about some of the retirement. And so when we look at the leave program, I thought it would be important for us to touch on this because, your leave program can play a part in your retirement. And it seems to be a topic that, early on employees may have some confusion on. But for the most part, two programs. You got your annual leave and you got your sick leave. And, that's a really nice government benefits. A lot of companies that they just offer one leave program. You take either your vacation, your sick, whatever. The government is a nice benefit where you have an annual leave and you also have separate sick leave. But really, what I wanted to touch on with this is how how being a good steward of your leave can definitely help you in the long run, especially as you approach retirement. So, annual leave, the amount of annual leave you earn is depending upon several factors: how many years you've worked for the government. If you're prior military, you'll get some credit for that. And so, those are set figures on how you accrue your annual leave. How it benefits you in the long run is for retirement is your annual leave payout. I just went through the early retirement process myself, um, and it was nice. I pretty much had maxed my annual leave out at 240 hours, and so when I left, I got a nice paycheck. Because we all know sometimes the annuity through OPM doesn't start up immediately. And so that annual leave payout, kind of helps you for the next couple of months to have some income. And so, we can have another whole session on that of how many hours you earn and how much you can carry over. But I think the point of this one is the benefit towards your retirement is to have that lump sum payment when you retire and to how to maximize your leave on that. But probably the one I feel more important about is sick leave. We talked about new employee orientation in some of our earlier meetings, and I would always stress to my employees to be a good steward of their sick leave. It was always somewhat disappointing to see employees who'd been with the government for 10, 15, 20 years, and it always baffled me, Ryan. They have no sick leave. They would burn it as they get it. Now, understand things happen in life. You have emergencies, things of that nature. But there were so many employees that just did not have a good leave balance. And I would always encourage them that, having a sick leave balance, you do not lose that. Your sick leave just continues to grow. The benefit of that was when you retire, and that was a change in the government. At one point, I remember we used to not get credit for our sick leave when you retire. That was a nice change that the government made. I know specifically for the VA, nurses always got credit for their sick leave, but other employees did not. The government changed that. All FERS employees gets credit for their sick leave. And where that is such a benefit is it doesn't add to calculating. We talked about earlier how they calculate your federal retirement. Your sick leave balance does not give you credit for in calculation of that annuity, but it does give you credit for the number of years portion. So, for example, I had 30 years of government service, and I had over 1 year of sick leave built up. So when they calculated my annuity, I actually got calculated with 31 years of service. And I know we talked about the difference of the multiplier, the 1% versus the 1.1%, and the difference that can make. Adding another year does make a difference. And so,
All right,
so
guys.
yep.
And and again, I think that that's big a misconception too. Like you said, is people think if I don't use it, I'm going to lose it. But I mean, there are so many times where, to your point, if they use it and they're in that maximizing multiplier, that 1.1, that really is the difference between $300 to $500 a month for a lot of people, and that's a missed component. And you start, and if you're that close and this kind of even bumps you over, you've got the years, but maybe this adds to the credibility, the credible time. I mean, there are situations where you can actually get that time credited and have the years and be out earlier, right? I mean, that's an important piece to that. And so don't underestimate the what this can do to help you when you go to retire. It gets added to your pension. I mean, it's another pension. It's part of your payout forever, which is important. Forever is a long time, right? I think that people, if they think more long term, like you were just talking about, right? So burn it, burn it. Think about how that could impact it. What if you didn't use a lot of your sick time and you didn't really know that it wasn't going to go away, and it gets added to your pension, and that's 100, $200 a month just because of sick time. It's a forever thing, man. That's a big difference.
Yep. I know you and I talked in an earlier session about, the three components and how some of them we don't have a lot of control over. The first piece is one that you don't have a lot of control over. You really can do a lot of things to maximize your TSP portion. But again, the first piece, hey, take the little things that we can do, such as your sick leave and that H62 additional multiplier. Those are two factors that you can have a little bit of control over to maximize that piece.
Absolutely. I mean, federal employees work really hard. You worked here for a long time. And it's heartbreaking to see sometimes, right? When people don't know these, and I'm not say basics, but they are kind of basic things that you can do to really truly have a healthy retirement. Right. And it's not difficult to have a healthy retirement with the federal government as long as you're maximizing each piece. Right. It's like the puzzle. You're putting all these pieces together for that end result, which is a retirement picture. But these are the little things, and they are little, but they do make a big difference.
Yep, add it up, that makes a difference.
I know you saw that a lot. So I know that was something that we want to make sure we hit on today. So make sure you are taking full advantage of what's given to you. If you're a federal employee and you're listening to this, get a good leave management system, and just think about the forever piece, right? The longer you live, that annuity is going to come in every single month, and those sick time, those sick hours, they make a difference. And at the end of the road. So think long term. Brian, anything else you want to hit on that?
Nope, just wanted to articulate, the advantages of being a good steward of your leave.
Yep. No, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for taking the time to come on here. For everybody listening, hope it's been helpful. Do us a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. Let us know how we can help. We appreciate everybody being on. Brian, thanks again, buddy. We'll talk to everybody soon.
Thanks, Ryan.
Bye. All right. Stop recording.